reflexes like a mongoose on amphetamines. Waving his Wilson wand. Super scintillating and sensational from Sosa. It's tennis near the gods. No mortal may approach.
Welcome back to Tennis Near the Gods. I'm Alex, joined with my brother Nicholas, and we're finally back. The tennis season's almost here. January 3rd is almost here with ATP Cup. We're going to briefly just talk about how last year summed up and looking forward into this year. And we're also going to talk about the ATP Cup, which is this new event that the ATP put together, kind of like Davis Cup, except with ATP points. And then we're also going to be talking about a little bit the brand new, or the bigger purse that is being brought to Melbourne this year for the Australian Open, which is definitely going to have a greater impact on players outside of the top 50, and I'd say around the 100 range who are definitely making it in, or even in qualies too. The prize money's been increased a lot, so that definitely has some implications for the rest of the year. But first, we'd like to get into just recapping and looking forward to guys we see making a big push this next year. And the first place we'll start is the guy who ended the year winning the final tournament, Stefanos Tsitsipas. You look at his year in 2019, he started off hot, he came out of the gates, and I'd say it wasn't like people were not expecting it, because he had won the Next Gen ATP Finals in 2018. But he definitely made a lot bigger moves, I think quicker than a lot of people thought, with his win over Roger Federer, making the semifinals of the Australian Open. And
then he backed it up with a 250 title and also made the finals of Dubai at 500. And then moving into the clay court swing, he reached the finals of the Masters 1000.
He beat Rafa Nadal in Madrid. And then he began to struggle for the success he had been achieving, relatively speaking, around going into the grass court season, and then that kind of carried over into the hard court swing. He had a couple losses early on in tournaments, and he was struggling to find his confidence, and then it was brought back up at the end of the year. He had some great results, played great matches, tight matches against Dominic Thiem, and he ended up winning the O2. And so looking forward to this next year, you just figure the consistency. He's going to be more consistent with week in, week out. He's probably going to take a different approach to his schedule. He's going to be playing, I'd say he started off his year playing a ton of tournaments. And this year it's going to be a lot more focused. I mean, he is playing ATP Cup, which most of the top guys are, representing their country. And so I feel like he's going to have a much more consistent performance throughout the year. I'm looking to see that, at least.
Yeah,
to build off of what he had last year, because he improved his serve greatly over the year, which is a big weapon if you want to make that push into the top 5, because he's 6th in the world. And I think he will be the one to kind of, along with Dominic Thiem, who's already in there, 4 in the world, with Medvedev at 5. So you're seeing this surge, and I think the big 3 are going to be broken up this year.
And look, he's proven that he can beat anyone in the world. He has wins over Nadal, Djokovic, Federer, Thiem, Medvedev, the entire top 5. And I think the biggest thing for him in 2020 is just improving, as you said, a more consistent performance throughout the entire year, and not, like you said, starting in the grass court season where he started losing much earlier on in tournaments, and then that carried over into the hard court swing in North America, which ended off with a first round loss to Andrei Rublev at the US Open. But he made a huge comeback, and I was really impressed with his tennis, and as we've been saying throughout the entire 2019 season, he is a winner.
And just one thing, he played the most tournaments out of anyone inside the top 10. He played 27 tournaments, compared with Medvedev, who played 24, but Berrettini played 26, but that's also someone who had a big jump and someone we're going to talk about in a second. So I think a more targeted approach to his tournament schedule will kind of help with that. I'm not saying he got tired, but there were tournaments where he came in very fatigued, and he went out early. And so I think the more targeted approach, and he's going to mature more, he's going to be stronger, he's going to have a better year. I think we'll go into Berrettini because that's a good segue. Berrettini, someone who's also very young, 23 years old, he kind of came out of left field just because we didn't see him kind of come to fruition the beginning of the year. It kind of came with his win in, Budapest on the red clay.
Yes.
That was his first title. And then he started to get the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm. And he finaled Munich, I believe, the following week. And it just snowballed from there. He won another title in Stuttgart. All 250s, but still gaining a lot of confidence, a lot of matches. And then he started to step it up. He beat Kachanov for the second time in the year. Made the fourth round of Wimbledon. And then, of course, the semifinals of the U.S. Open.
That really changed everything.
Which changed everything. 720 points, and it just propelled him into the race to London.
Yeah, but he was already making headway into he was beating good players. Like he had he's a stud. Guy has a massive serve, big forehand. He's got a lot of variety with his game, especially on the backhand side, because he can flatten that backhand out. He can drive the slice. He can float it. He can do anything with it. And he comes forward and he plays very bold tennis and just goes after balls. And that's the one thing with him that I think hopefully we'll see improve this year, is that there were some matches where the forehand was just missing, and it was like, okay, are you gonna reel it in a little bit and try to regain the confidence? And he just keeps on firing it off, but it works for him. I mean, he had a phenomenal year. So I think we'll talk about one more guy inside the top 10 before we get out of that, is Daniil Medvedev. He had the biggest breakthrough out of everyone, I'd say, because with Stefan, I'd say actually Berrettini was surprising, but I wouldn't think last year if we said Medvedev was going to be 5 in the world, sorry. I don't think anyone would have said that you were smart. And he came out of nowhere just because it happened gradually. Like the first tournament the first big tournament was the Australian Open. He loses to Djokovic in the fourth round in four sets. 4 sets, which was a great match. Did he final again? He beat Dimonauer in the final of a tournament to start off the year, right?
He lost in the finals to Kei Nishikori in Brisbane. But then a couple weeks after the Australian Open, he won Sofia.
That was the year before, yeah.
Semi-finaled Rotterdam. So he, as you said, very, very consistent.
He was just consistent. He brought the same level, and just was rock solid. And it
was gradually improving. And then in Monte Carlo, you saw him beat world number 1 Novak Djokovic as well as Stefanos Tsitsipas.
And that's where he kind of simmered off. That was the end of him simmering off in Barcelona, where he beat Nishikori in the semis and then got steamrolled by Thiem. Struggled a little bit for the rest of the clay swing, and then kind of, I wouldn't say he didn't have a great grass court swing, but he came alive back again on the hard court. He was the most dominant guy on the hard courts this year, with the exception of how he ended it on the O2. There was some interesting fact with the amount of, he was the most winningest guy on the hard courts.
I mean, he won the most matches on tour this year.
Yeah. And he definitely played more aggressive as the year went on, especially with the serve. He began serving, I think it was in Cincinnati, where the second serve was all of a sudden his first serve.
Yeah.
And that was the match against Djokovic where he just turned it around and just completely wiped the floor with him.
And then remember when he hit 4 aces in a row to seal off the title in Cincinnati against Goffin with a cracked racket?
Yeah. So I think looking forward, I don't think Medvedev's kind of stay put. I don't see a push inside the top 3. I think Team will be able to break into that. I think Tsitsipas can break into that. I think Djokovic and Fed would kind of move out of that.
I think for Medvedev, the best thing that happened to him, because he had made 6 finals in a row, ending in Shanghai where he won the Masters 1000 there. Then he lost in Paris first round to Jeremy Chardy. The best thing, in my opinion, for him to happen at the O2, looking ahead to 2020, was to go winless and be disappointed and not go into a high going into the off season and a little bit disillusioned. I think it really set him straight, and I think he's gonna be able to really. He sees there's a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah. I think to wrap up the guys inside the top 10 and what's gonna happen this year, I think Nadal has the highest level out of the guys there right now. I don't know about Djokovic. I'm still not convinced. I think Fed will definitely drop. It's bound to happen. And I know everyone's been saying that for years, but you see it. You see the decay gradually, and I think at the end of last year, all right, Team has the guts now. Stefanos Tsitsipas has the guts. These guys have beaten them in the big matches, and you're gonna start to see that. Not start to see that. I just don't. Fed's not gonna hold the top 5. I don't think anymore.
I'm going to disagree with you there. I think he will. He was able to take out Djokovic at the O2.
That's on a fast indoor hard court.
I understand, but I still think maybe he'll definitely make. I think, in my opinion, he'll make the O2 next year. Whether he plays it or not is a different story. But I think there's a big difference between dropping outside of the top 8 and being inside of it, because right now he's got 6,500 points.
Listen, I'll tell you this. Zverev's going to come back with a purpose. Talk about a guy who, even though he's 7 in the world right now, he had a disappointing year. And he kind of was lost for most of the year. Just in his game, he was struggling with something, whether it was the serve, forehand, whatever. He's going to come back with a purpose. You saw what happened in the O2. I mean, granted, that was indoors again, and he wasn't playing his best tennis, but he found a way. I think he's going to come back better. And I really see the younger guys moving in. I see Roger Federer moving out. I see Djokovic kind of getting bullied a little bit by Team. Man, Team is found a way to. Not only is his forehand enormous, his backhand now is not loose. Like, that thing doesn't miss either, and he sends it every time. It's a bullet. So he can punch holes through Djokovic. Stefanos Tsitsipas just beat Djokovic in some warm-up thing in Dubai, or I don't even know how to pronounce it, Mubadala or something like that. I think they're moving in. The only worry I have about Nadal is that he stays healthy, because he's playing ATP Cup, which is going to be a grind. He's going to have to, if he takes it as seriously as he did Davis Cup, it's going to be brutal. And he played Davis Cup.
He put that team on his back.
He put the team on his back, and he's going to have to do the same thing if he has the desire to do it for this, which is going to be tiring. I think, you know what, we should leave the top 10 out there. We'll just pick a couple guys outside the top 10 who we see moving up this year. Nicholas, I'll let you start.
So for me, the first player has got to be Denis Shapovalov. I thought his end to the year was absolutely superb. He finaled Paris, I believe. Yes, he did get a withdrawal in the semifinals from Nadal, but he was able to beat Zverev. He beat Fognini and Monfils. But in my opinion, the most impressive part of his end to the season was Davis Cup, where he beat Matteo Berrettini, he beat Taylor Fritz, he beat Kachanov, and then the two guys who he lost to were De Minaur and Nadal. And in that Nadal match in the finals, I was really impressed with how he was playing, and he really hung in that match. And that's when Nadal is at his height and focus, and he was not going to lose. So going 3-6 with Nadal, I was actually quite impressed by him.
I don't know if you can take a ton from that, but I agree. Denis Shapovalov had a great end of the year. I'd say my first guy that I'm looking at is Alex de Minaur. You look at the trend of the guys who won the ATP Next Gen Finals. Hyun Chung won it, and then went on a tear at the beginning of the year until he got injured. But he was definitely trending up. I mean, if he stays healthy, who knows? But that's a what if. And then you just had Stefanos Tsitsipas win it, and then he went on a roll this past year. So I'm looking for Alex de Minaur. Guy's rock solid. I think the one thing that he does need in his game a little more is a little more offense. But he has the foundation. Like, the guy does not give an inch. He's a competitor. He's in every single match. He'll dig his teeth in. Someone's going to have to run him off the court. Like, someone's just going to have to out-hit him if they're going to beat him. And so that's why I think he's just naturally going to progress, because he is going to get stronger. He's going to be hitting bigger. He's going to have more confidence to go after those balls. And on top of that, he is just going to dig in and find a way, and he doesn't give an inch. And so that's my first guy.
I think the biggest problem, I wouldn't say a problem with Alex de Minaur, but in order to break in, I don't think he'll be able to break into the top 10 this year just yet, because those breakthroughs into the later stages of the bigger tournaments, when guys are hitting bigger and they're just playing bigger and bigger tennis, like a Stefanos Tsitsipas, or it just that with him, he's more, I don't want to call him a 250 player, but he's won 3 250s, which is absolutely fantastic for him. It just, I don't see him progressing into the later stages.
Listen,
of
I
a
don't
bigger
think
tournament.
I think he has a clear idea of when he looks at his year, he's like, okay, I can either do this and be a top 20 player, or I do need to get a little aggressive. He has the capability because he has the speed to move through the court. I'm not saying you don't have to hit, like, you have to understand, okay, I'm 6 foot. I'm not going to go out there and dummy guys with my shots. Think about it more like David Goffin. How did David Goffin break into the top 10? He did it by just timing, by taking every ball a little bit earlier and beating you with, okay, you're going to hit this backhand cross. Well, I'm going to get there early and send it line, and then you're going to be in trouble. And that's how he's going to take his time. And on top of that, he's a better volleyer. He likes to come in more, which is something that helps him out. Like Tsitsipas has done that better. He comes in more. And that's something that gives you an advantage, even though everyone's great at passing now. But still, like, he can clean up at the net, which is not everyone can do it like that. So I think you give him less credit than he deserves.
My next player is Andrei Rublev, who ended the season undefeated in Davis Cup. He beat Roberto Bautista Agut 7-6 in the third, and also Filip Krajinovic 1-2, just a complete beatdown. He won Moscow, the 250 there, and he also, in Shanghai, he beat John Millman 2-0, just a complete beatdown.
Yeah.
And at the U.S. Open, as I mentioned earlier, Stefanos Tsitsipas, a big upset there for Rublev. I see Rublev doing very well in this 2020 season.
I agree. I think Rublev was definitely on my list. The only concern that you can have with him is just staying healthy and how long he can sustain it. I mean, he's a skinny guy. He has a history of being injured. And so that is the only concern, because when you look at his game, I mean, who's going to out-hit him off the court? No one. He's one of the best ball strikers there is in the game right now. And he has that ability to beat the top guys. He beat Fed 3 and 4 in Cincinnati. He has a massive game, and especially when you pointed it out in Davis Cup, he went on a tear. So I agree with that one. Little one out of left field, Vasek Pospisil. That's another guy who struggled with injuries. He's starting to make his comeback, and he had a great end to the year. He went on a run. He's got a massive game. He's a guy, he was like 34 in the world at his highest ranking or something like that. Like, he's got game. Big forehand, big serve, has a good backhand, can follow it in. He cleans up at the net. He's a phenomenal volleyer. People forget, like, he won Wimbledon with Jack Sock. Like, that was a insane doubles team. So that's someone I'd look forward to for this year. Again, given his health history, it is that's the only thing that makes me, all right, not so sure about Vasek. But man, he's gonna be tough. He's gonna be really tough. And one other Canadian, I mean, everyone talks about him now. What's his name? Felix Auger-Aliassime. But that kid's going to be good at some point. He's obviously very good right now, but he's going to be a stud. Like, at some point, he's going to break inside the top 10. It's a matter of time, whether it's this year or next. Like, it's going to happen sooner rather than later. His game is just going to get better and better, get bigger and bigger. He's going to be a little more solid this year, I'm sure. Yeah. He's got so much firepower. He's got a massive serve.
And that's why I'm a little bit not too big of a fan of Felix, at least for this past year, where there were a lot of loose errors and a lot of double faults and a lot of unforced errors. That it's like.
But listen, that's part of
development. I mean,
yes.
He's 19 years old.
How are you gonna get inside the top 10, top 5, and he wants to be probably one in the world, obviously.
It's with that firepower.
It's gonna take a little time to develop, but you have to just go after it, and sooner rather than later, it's gonna hit. Vasek Pospisil, by the way, 149 in the world, and ends his year. He beats Fonini, beats Opelka, beats Millman, loses to Rublev, but Rublev, one of the hotter players on the tour.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's someone who will be one to be reckoned with. And talk about, he had a freaking war of a tournament in Shanghai too. Yeah. Like, he's got game. It's just he's got to be given the chance.
He pushed Medvedev to the limit there.
My last player is Borna Coric. He's 29 in the world, I think, right now. He had a terrible year, but I mean, he's good. He's good. He's got that Djokovic style game. He's gonna be hungry. He knows he had that year. He was not happy with it. He's gonna come back, man. He's gonna come back. He's got an unreal backhand, and he's just tough. And he's gonna find a way and dig in. I'm not saying he's gonna be top 10. I'd just say he's gonna be top 20 again.
Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna disagree with you there, but I see Riley Opelka becoming the number 1 American player in the world. He ended the season with 2 semifinals in 500s. He's right now 36 in the world. There's no questioning his ability to stay in any match. He's got a massive serve. He can compete with anyone, really. He'll go close with anyone. And throughout the entire season, I feel like his ground stroke game, his baseline game, has just improved dramatically. And he's developed very well as a tennis player.
I'd say the only concern you can have is just him staying in the match mentally. I mean, his serve is going to keep him in. When you've seen some of his wins this year, it's like, wow, this guy's good. He can grind a little bit, and he can just at any point pull the trigger, and hurt you. I think I agree with you there. I don't see any reason why he will not be the top American this year. And he definitely should be inside the top 20. I mean, with a serve like that, it's bound to happen.
And we, of course, have to talk about the next-gen ATP Finals winner, the champion, Jannik Sinner from Italy. He's 18 years old. I mean, what a player.
He's 78 in the world.
He, after winning Milan, he went on to win a challenger in Italy. Just an incredible story all around. What do you think about him?
He's got a big game, and especially off of both wings, backhand and forehand. Big serve, 6'4". I mean, what can you say? It's like the Auger-Aliassime. When you have so much firepower at some point, you know it's just going to click because guys aren't going to be able to hang. Like, they can just naturally hit through guys. And you saw how his game progressed over the year, and I feel like that improvement's going to be rapid again this year. He's going to get more experience playing higher level tournaments against higher level opponents, and he's just going to become more and more confident, and it's just going to keep on clicking. When you have someone that gifted, where the ball just flies off the racket, things are just going to happen fast, and he's going to make a big progression this year. It's just bound to happen. You saw it. He just hit through de Minaur in the next gen ATP Finals. De Minaur didn't win it. You didn't correct me. De Minaur did not win it, but that's someone. Even still, I think, when you talk about Jannik Sinner, like, man, the guy can be so good, and it's definitely gonna happen this year.
And you got to remember that he started 2019 around 560 in the world, playing futures in Tunisia, I believe, and I think he went 1-3 in that swing right there.
Yeah, it's
And
just,
then he
I mean,
moved
it's
on.
a massive confidence game. It's all about confidence and just going out there and swinging away. So I think we'll take it into the ATP Cup, quickly talk about that. It's basically the same format as Davis Cup, except groups have 4 countries in them, and there's 6 groups of 4. Winner of each group advances to the quarterfinals, which leaves 2 spots for second place finishers, based upon probably sets won, right?
Yeah,
The same tiebreak deciders that were in Davis Cup apply here. I kind of see this playing out like the Davis Cup did. I think Spain Russia final.
Spain Canada final or Spain Russia?
Spain Russia. I have Canada losing to Spain. I have Russia beating Serbia. Just because, I mean, you'd think that these guys are going to show up and have the same intensity. It's a new event. It's the first year of the event. I think Rafa Nadal is going to bring it. I think Djokovic is going to bring it. I think they're going to carry, especially in doubles. They're going to take care of singles. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it, but I also find this format and this tournament to be kind of ludicrous how they're giving ATP points to this. So let's say I'm like how ATP points advance per seeding and slot that you play, whether you play 1 or 2, and then you get more points in the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the final stage. I mean, if I'm with Rafa Nadal, I'm like, oh man, not saying luck box a match. I mean, you're gonna have to win a match, but I don't like how ATP points are involved with this. I actually don't like the idea of this. At the beginning of the year, I think it's a mistake to hold it. I think what they had with Davis Cup at the end of the year was something that they should be like, oh, okay, this is smart. And then put this at some point in the year, a tournament like this, where it's like, okay, we don't hold it in one specific location. Let's hold it in a couple different cities in the same country, kind of like a World Cup in soccer, and hold it every once in a while. Not every single year. I think this is a mistake.
I think seen by Davis Cup this past year, it'll be really interesting to me to see how popular it is in these cities and how many fans are actually able to attract, because Davis Cup, it was a flop. A lot of the matches, there were not many people in the stands, and
I
you
disagree
want the
with
atmosphere.
I disagree with it was a flop. I think what made it so tough is, okay, you're throwing it. There's no breaks. You're throwing it all into one tournament at the end of the year where it's like, all right, tennis is still going on. It was kind of randomly put in. No one knew what was happening until the end of the year, really. It was not really put out there. There was still Davis Cup matches going on during the regular year, not at the end of the schedule. I think what you have to do, with the idea that they had there was good, all right? We put 2 singles and 1 doubles. I mean, the atmosphere for some of those final doubles tiebreakers was unbelievable. Like, that's the kind of energy you need, and that was something that will build the sport. And that's something that was brought by this new Davis Cup format. I think it's a great idea.
I kind of disagree with you there, because that atmosphere came because it was in Madrid, in Spain, with Spain playing in those ties. So
No, but when we're talking about the Serbia versus Russia tie, where it was the doubles match, that was insane. That was crazy. That was unbelievable tennis, and everyone who was in the tennis community was talking about it after. Like, what a match. That's the kind of drama that you want to build from an event like that. Yes, as I said, putting it in the Kahamaki Cup was not the smartest, but I think, you know why it doesn't draw a crowd? It's because it happens every year, and it wasn't advertised. What happens is that this should not, maybe, you know what, hold it at the beginning of the year. Hold it right here, but have it once every 2 years. Draw a massive international crowd to the venue. Hold it in different cities in the country that you have it in. Whether it be Australia at the beginning of the year, or move it to the United States in the summer or something like that. And block out a tournament there and put it there. and move it around like that. I think if you make it every couple of years, then it will draw a bigger international crowd because more people will try and come out and support. I think that is the mistake, having it every single year. Adding more matches to the calendar, I don't think is the smartest idea.
My biggest problem with ATP Cup right now is the way that points are awarded. It's when you look at it in particular for Spain, with Nadal world number 1 and Roberto Bautista Agut as world number 9 playing the 2 spot, it's so much more difficult. Sure, he might not be playing as highly ranked of an opponent at the number 2 spot. He might even be playing a guy who's 500 in the world against Greece. Obviously not in the same group. But I just think the way I see ATP changing the way they're awarding points.
And you put Bulgaria in here. Grigor Dimitrov's their 1. A guy who's like 200 something is their 2. And their 3 is like 500 in the world. And you look at Moldova, then you look at Georgia, and you even look at Uruguay. It's like, I really think and South Africa too, Chile. Like, I think this is a mistake. Just how points are being awarded. I mean, granted, these guys still have to win the matches, and as you just said, Roberto Bautista Agut cannot get the same amount of points as Rafa Nadal, even if he wins every single match. I mean, how is he that just puts him at an inherent disadvantage. I know he's playing the 1 spot or whatever, but I don't like the format of this. That's that. Lastly, the large purse at the Australian Open, the winner gets 4.1 million, right? And the first round losers get $90,000.
$90,000. The entire purse increased by over 13%. First round qualifiers losers receive $20,000 each. So I mean, it's great to see, but in my opinion, when you look at something like Michael Moe who might get a wild card into the Australian Open, $90,000 would pay for his entire year for himself, which is that means amazing.
That means no coach. That doesn't mean he's paying for coaches. That means, okay, I can pay for travel for the rest of the year. I mean, we're going to talk more about economic inequality in the ATP. Nicholas is doing an independent study. He's talked to a bunch of professional tennis players from all different levels of the game, singles, doubles, challenger level to ATP level. But I think when you look at this is a step in the right direction. Especially, I would like to see a little more money added, obviously, to the quali side, because I think those guys definitely need the money to kind of extend their year so they can actually play, because where they're making their money, the slams, they have to play qualies.
Yeah,
they have to in order to be able to fund the rest of the year.
Is the ATP?
They're not making money in challengers.
The ATP did not increase prize money at challengers. You still, if you lose first round at some challengers, you could receive only $260 or $320.
If you start out in the first round in a challenger, you win 3 matches, you're getting less than $1,000. It's crazy. And you're playing a Grand Slam, and I know that there's massive sponsors and everything, and it's awesome what they did, how there's more money, but I think it's a lot of it's top heavy. Like, does the winner really need 4.1 million?
They get more of it from sponsors.
Exactly. I like, does trickle that down a little bit.
Yeah. Like,
the guy's going to make millions anyway.
The biggest problem, in my opinion, right now is, and something that can't be solved really, is the separation of the governing bodies of tennis with the ITF, all 4 national federations, and then the ATP and WTA.
Yeah. So that's something I know I'm going to set Nicholas off, because he's going to start rattling off stuff, and this is going to take way too long. But we will spend a podcast going over this. It will come out regardless of our like previews and recaps. It will come out separately. We're going to be looking to do a couple more podcasts in the next week and a half, just recapping and previewing tournaments, because they're going to come in different waves, just like ATP Cup's going to start, and then Doha will start, and it will be interesting to see who's playing Doha. That's a 250 that you won't see Djokovic in, you won't see Roberto, and those are the 2 guys from last year, like Basilashvili, Bardic retired. So that's going to be open, so it's going to be interesting. And we're going to try to be a lot more thorough and I'd say organized this year. This is just like a note.
And also just better all around. How
Better
about that?
all around. We're just trying to improve. Not the best start, I'd say, but we're going to improve off of this. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate the support, and we'll get back at you guys next week.